What is going on, guys? Happy Easter, first of all, to everybody in here. I just got done watching probably one of the most epic League of Legends games I've ever seen in my entire life. I am 27. This is DFS now, and I never thought in a million years I'd be saying that I just got done watching the best League of Legends match of my life at the age of 27. Anyway, I mean, can we not, like, can we just admit to ourselves that League of Legends is now growing on us and it's now actually fun to watch? I can't be the only one in here. I mean, we can't just be betting on it just because it's the only thing to bet on. Like, it's actually interesting to watch now. I never thought. Oh goodness, my hair's messed up. All right, so I'm excited to go through everything. This stream's gonna serve as just a basic, not even a basic, an advanced overview of how to approach. Hold on. An overview on how to approach every single slate, both GPPs and cash, big and small GPPs, and really how to attack the ownership utilizing our Patreon tool. Because so many people, I've seen a lot of people just there's first of all, there's like half of my users are completely off when they're entering contests, and the other half is like completely, they get it, they're making money, they're taking down slates, and I just want everybody to be on the same page. All right, I want everybody to be making money. Obviously, this community has grown so much, and I've gotten a lot of DMs where just people outpouring love and they're just grateful for all of the GPP cheat sheets and everything that we have to offer. And then there's another half that's just like they don't understand. And it's no disrespect to you guys whatsoever, because I understand this is a new process for everybody. And guys, it took me 3 years to finally start making money on DFS. In the past 2 years, I've made thousands. So again, it took me a while too. Do not hang your head. We're going to get back on track. If you are one of those people, do not hang your head, okay? And yes, I will touch base on everything. I will touch base on absolutely everything. Feel free to spam any questions you guys have in the chat, because this is going to be a learning session. I will not just randomly get off. I will stay until however long it takes until I answer all your questions, okay? Yes, and if you're losing the video, just please hit the refresh button for YouTube. It happens at like the 3-minute mark every single time. I do not know why. Matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead and give you guys a couple minutes here to get back into the chat. Let me know if you guys are back in here. Yeah, what happens is that you lose. Apparently, the stream, for anybody who's been in here for a while, the stream does go out after like 2 minutes. I don't know why it does that. So just refresh the page. There's not actually 6 people in here. It loses, and then you just need to refresh, and you get back in. So I will wait until everybody's back, and then I will go ahead and give you guys a rundown on everything that the Patreon sheet has to offer. If you guys are in here and you are not a Patreon member, this is going to be all gibberish to you, and you probably won't learn much, okay? So if you got in here illegally, you will be found, and you will be killed. No, but if you are in here and you aren't a Patreon member, you should probably sign up for Patreon. I'd love you a lot more. You guys are back? All right, we're back. Awesome. Awesome. All right. So let's start from the very top, okay? First and foremost, you have to pick out contests that you're going to enter. Okay, because that's going to determine what you're going to do GPP wise, and that's going to determine where you guys are going to put your eggs as far as teams. Okay, let's start with small GPPs, because small GPPs are completely different strategy wise than big GPPs. Small GPPs are actually kind of similar to a a cash lineup, okay? Kind of, sort of, okay? For a smaller GPP, you want a primary or secondary stack that it has a lot of ownership. For a small GPP that has a ton of ownership, but then you also want a secondary or primary stack that's going to leverage against the field just enough that's going to propel you to the top. Okay? It's going to propel you to the top, but you cannot get too crazy in small GPPs. This means you should not have, for instance, if we're looking at tonight, you should not have a full primary stack of V5 matched with, I don't know, ES. Okay, it's not going to get the job done because if you look here, my percentage top stack for V5 is going to be just under 4%, which means you have a 4% chance of winning a GPP. Okay, probably not going to happen. And if you're playing a small GPP, you're probably playing higher. You're betting probably a higher amount in that GPP. Okay. In smaller GPPs, like I said, you want to grab as much ownership in one of your stacks as you possibly can and leverage against the field. Okay, I haven't even tried building my lineups, and I saved that for sitting here with you guys and building my lineups. Let's say we're going to a small GPP build. You want to grab a projected ownership that's very high. Let's look at it. Let's just say let's just say ES. Okay, but you also want to come back with a smaller leverage stack. Okay, so let's look at a leverage stack that is going to be, if you look at the projected ownership, it has to be lower than the top stack percentage. So let's look. A decent amount of ownership, but it's going to have a little bit of leverage. Looks like RNG is slightly undervalued or slightly underowned. So an ES with RNG stack would be a viable option because both of those stacks have a 50% chance or a near 50% chance. One of them has a 50% chance of being in the optimal stack. And if you're playing a small GPP, those are pretty good odds, okay? But you're only competing with 48% of the field. Okay, so you don't want to get too crazy in small GPPs, whether that be single entry, whether that be a 3 max entry, whatever it may be. If it's a small GPP, I'm saying less than 150 people, that needs to be your strategy. Okay, when you are playing big GPPs, you want to get crazy. You want your lineups to be 7,000 salary savers. You want your entire lineups to be, I mean, all over the place because you are going for that top prize. Because the rake in those contests are just going to destroy you. If you're playing conservative, if you're playing ES and TES and a big GPP like that, even if those two hit, even if the chalk hits, first of all, you're going to share it with a lot of people. Second of all, you might not even have the optimal lineup, so you're wasting your time and money. Okay, you might as well just play OMG with V5. You might as well play RNG with V5. You might as well play ES with LNG, LNG with OMG. You might as well play every single combination possible. Just not even looking at ownership at that point, just so you can take down the GPP, because as we know, League of Legends, anything can happen. Okay, big GPPs are where you play those V5s. This is where you play those ESs with those RNGs and those LNGs with those OMGs. You try everything. You try every different combination. You try 4-3s. You try 3-3-1. You get crazy. Okay, with the smaller GPPs, I see people do this all the time. There's V5s in there. There's LNGs. Why are those small owned GPPs even remotely close to a small GPP? Yes, I recommended them on my Patreon, but you cannot play those types of lineups in those small GPPs. You need to be more conservative. And that is my first lesson, is so many people are stuck on my Patreon top stack tool at the bottom. I'm just telling you what I see on my sheet, and I'm identifying where my favorite GPP plays are. That doesn't mean that you play those GPPs and everything and you expect to cash every night. That's not how it works. Because if we go based on a projection on who we think is going to win, you're going to lose money every time. If I go into it and I tell you guys, I think ES is going to win, stack them. You're going to lose every time. Oh, I think, you know what? I think TES has a really good probability. I think that V5 doesn't push them to 3 games. I think they're going to 2-0 them, stack them. If I give you guys that kind of advice, I wouldn't have followers, okay? The objective in GPPs is to leverage yourself against the field. Period. Okay, you want to look at these low-owned stacks, whether that be in the big GPPs, whether that be in the small GPPs. Make sure you combine them with stacks that actually make sense. All right, is that making sense so far? I want you guys to spam the chat if that's making sense so far. So far, and yes, I just saw Jason put a great tip, and I haven't been over that yet. Get crazy, but do not put supporter team at the captain spot. Absolutely. Yep, that's another thing we're going to talk about. Sorry, I had to take a drink. That was a bit of a ramble. Okay. So let's identify a contest that we're going to enter. Whether that be a big GPP, whether that be a small GPP. Let's just focus on small GPPs because that's easier. Okay. What I'm looking at first is I'm looking at a stack that I have enough leverage but makes sense. And I've already stated this a lot. Okay. Love the shirt. Yep. This is actually one of the first shirts at the top of my pile. I think I'm running out of shirts for the week. I need to do laundry. Appreciate that. Gosh, hold on. All right. So let's move on. Like I said, the small GPPs. I'm looking for projected ownership. Hold on, guys. Sorry, there's something in my throat. All right, I think we're good. All right, so we're looking for projected ownership that is leveraged against the field, but also is heavily owned. So one thing I noticed when looking at this specific slate tonight, and you need to take this observation and go and apply this to multiple slates going forward. Look for a high-owned GPP stack. I'm talking about small GPPs. Look for a high-owned GPP stack, but also has leverage, which means the projected ownership is lower than the percent top stack, okay? Because that usually means you have leverage against the field. And I've already stated my two favorites. ES is right at the projected top ownership or top projected ownership. So again, I like that stack just as a building block. And then RNG, 23% ownership compared to 25% top stack. I like that because there's a 2% leverage there. But I do not like TES because of 31% and 25%. So what this means is that the optimal build in cash is going to contain ES and TES. And for you Patreon members, you already know this. Those are my two favorite stack options for cash. You're going to see probably 30% of the field have a TES-ES stack with a supporter captain, with a topic captain. And guys, if that chalk hits, move on to the next slate, at least for GPPs, okay? But if you look at RNG, they're going to be slightly lower owned. They have a little bit of leverage. They have just as much of a probability to be in the top stack. Look, ES, RNG, and TES all have the same probability virtually to be in the top stack, okay? So I like ES and RNG. I would probably start there for a stack for smaller GPPs. I would be messing with those combos, okay? That's what I would do for big GPPs. I mean, for smaller GPPs, not big GPPs, for small GPPs, okay? And I would also, now let's just say I'm doing a 3-entry max. I'd move on to the next entry, and I'd say, all right, I have my ES and my RNG. Let's mess around with it a little bit. Let's get a RNG and OMG stack in there, since that also, since RNG has leverage and OMG is right there, almost an upset potential. I'd get an OMG and RNG stack in there. And then I might even get a little bit crazy and go RNG and TES, because I know there won't be too many of those combinations. There's going to be more ES and TES. So those would be my 3 lineup combinations, okay? It would be ES and RNG. It would be RNG OMG. And then RNG TES. I like RNG a lot because, again, they are under-owned. Their top stack percentage is just as good as these TES guys, and if I play them over TES, I have 8% leverage because 23% of the field will have them, and TES is 31% owned. Does that make sense? Okay. Again, you're looking for leverage. You're looking for leverage every single time. Every slate is built different. Now, for the big GPPs, this is where you get absolutely crazy. I would first start with RNG. That would be my building block stack because, again, it's my favorite one. I'd pair RNG with ES or ES. I'd pair RNG with OMG. I'd pair RNG with TES. I'd even pair RNG with V5, okay? And then I move on to my next favorite stack, which is ES. ES with RNG. ES with LNG. ES with TES. ES with V5. Okay, try to get as many different lineup combinations. Don't be afraid to play underdogs because, as we know, anything can happen. Yeah, if there's people sharing the link illegally, I will find you and I will kill you. There should hopefully there's 39 Patreon members in here. Okay, if you are not a Patreon member, sorry, I was reading a comment. If you are not a Patreon member, I really would appreciate the support. Obviously, we put out projections every single night, so if you're in here illegally, get out. So far, does that make sense? I know I'm not reading all the questions yet. Okay, I'm getting to the questions in just a second. But for big GPPs, you're again starting with the leverage stacks. You're looking at them first because that's where the leverage is, and then you're moving on to the next team to stack it with. Okay. So my best leverage stacks tonight are RNG. They're going to be LNG. It's funny because they're both in the same game. So that game in general is going to be low owned. It's going to be with V5. It's going to be with ES. ES is actually 0.24% leveraged. All right. So that's how you attack the slates. Does that make sense? Yes or no? And then I'll move on to actually constructing the lineups. RNG would be my... I'm going to talk about that in a second, okay? I like RNG tonight because of the leverage spot. I don't like them because I think they're going to win or I think they're going to 2-0. I'd like them because of their leverage. Okay, I'm not here to predict winners because that's not my job. My job is to put you in the best position to get a GPP takedown, and that team does it the best. All right, cool. Yes, awesome. No, big GPPs absolutely not. Usually not use a supporter as captain. That rarely gets it done unless the chalk hits. All right. So, let me move my GPP cheat sheet over the comments real quick. Sorry, guys, I won't see your comments for a little bit. Actually, let me move it so I can see them. I lied. Let me move them just a little bit. I think it does. All right, cool. All right. So let's still say we're focusing on the mini GPP or the smaller GPPs. I'm talking 150 less people, okay? Because there's plenty of them out there. It's actually where I've made the most money these past couple weeks. All right. So like I said, small GPP, I'm starting with RNG. I'm starting with RNG and I'm trying to get an optimal build with RNG and ES because that's the one build that has the most leverage. RNG does anyway. All right, I'm just going to build 150 lineups. All right, well, let me explain this to you guys first. I'm building 150 lineups, and I have my stacks enabled. So enable LOL stacks for 300% exposure because you want every one of your lines to be 4-3. I'm at least going to take a look at them. If I can get a 3-3-1, then sure. But I'm going to start with a 4-3 and see what I'm looking at. As far as LNG, or it's not LNG, as far as ES and RNG. Okay, so let's build. I'm going to try to get a 4-man stack with RNG first, though. Why do losing teams from the stack you're betting against still get big points? I don't know what you mean by that, man. Building lineup still. By the way, how's everybody doing this weekend? Yeah, this today's show is sponsored by water. Yes, been drinking a lot of water. All right, almost done. Oh no, I locked a team. I have to redo them. Sorry, that was from earlier. I was building. We have to wait again. I do apologize. 40 viewers, 40 Patreon members. I hope so anyway, unless anybody's link sharing. We wouldn't want that, right? So for 3 max, are you saying RNG for ES3? That's not what I'm saying. For one of my lineups, yes. That's what I'm going to try to do here. Anyway, all right. So let's take a look. Like Jason alluded to earlier, we don't want a captain spot that has support. Okay, so let's start with, let's see, RNG. I have an 8% here with Lang X. Let's go ahead and take a look at these. Oh, I already got a good build that I like here. So I obviously want 4 RNG, but if it can't happen, okay. But here's my leverage spot. This first lineup here looks great. RNG, Lang X, ES, Xiao Bai, WEI, Cryan, Betty, Ming, E-Star, boom, 50,000 right in the dot. That would be a great lineup, at least for a smaller GPP. Why? Because probably nobody has RNG at the captain spot, period, because they're so expensive, and then come back with 4 ES, and I mean, that's a very hard lineup to construct. I think that's pretty different. So I like that lineup, but let's see if there's 4 RNG, just in general. Nope. There's 4 right there. I love this lineup. I love this lineup. I love this lineup. Okay, so we have Lang X, we have XLB, we have Betty, we have Ming. I would probably save this one and enter it into a big GPP, or not a big, a small GPP. Why? Because I have that leverage spot with RNG. I'm not playing the chalkiest stack. And then I'm also coming back with a high owned stack with ES, which is right at the percentage ownership. Okay. That would be my first build for a 3-person small GPP. Does that make sense? I'm going to check with the chat now. I had all my teams all win today, and the winner of the tournament used teams players he was going against and beat, and still got 200 plus points on that player. Granted, it was a captain spot, but still, when a game goes to a game 5 like that, Fly and TSM, that stinks for stacking when you stack 2 different teams, because you can have players from both sides of that team that go off. So there might be a TSM player that you're probably talking about that did very well and might have made it into an optimal build, and that guy probably didn't end up stacking. He probably played random people, and that usually doesn't get it done. But today was the one exception. Like I said, if it goes to a game 5, it doesn't. On these big slates, I'm saying like bigger than 3 or bigger, so tonight is considered a decent slate. You usually don't see a game stack do anything. It usually doesn't. Yes, knock on wood, it probably will happen tonight with me saying that, but it usually doesn't happen. You'd have to have both teams score an extreme amount of points. I'm talking like both of them 20 plus kills on each map for that to make sense. Yes, got it. Yes. Avoid playing 100 or 1,000 players and 3 max with these lines. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying your approach has to be different for smaller GPPs. Okay, I'm talking about small GPPs right now. So is there a strategy for getting 3-mans, like how we know which 4-mans get with the top percent higher than ownership? Yeah, so I'm kind of touching base on that. Okay, so again, if you're playing a small GPP, you're trying to grab leverage spots while also getting ownership. Okay, like I said, if you guys see another one of these lineups, this lineup right here, lineup 36, if you see that in another small GPP, I will PayPal you $100, unless it's probably going to be all of us, right? We're all going to have that lineup now. Seriously though, this lineup nobody will have, because it's so different. It leaves money on the table, and it gives me 4 RNG with ES. If RNG is in the top stack and ES is also in the top stack, guess what? You're going to win that GPP, okay? And you're leveraging yourself against all the people that stack TES, which is approximately 31% of the field. So you're beating out 31% of the field just by fading them and playing RNG. All right, and then if we pull back our sheet here, I wanted to stack RNG and OMG. So I'm probably going to try, let's get a majority RNG and see if we can find any OMG in here. Well, let's look for an RNG guy that has a lot of upside. So captain. RNG, XLB is a good one. Let's see if there's an OMG stack in here. Nope. Oh, there is. Boom. Oh, I could probably get a better player though, because that's leaving a lot of money on the table. XLB. Betty. Look at that. Music to my ears. All right. RNG. So I have, and this is just another good stack that I like because OMG is a slight underdog. They are 13 and 12%. So I mean, it's not that bad, but RNG is slightly undervalued as far as leverage. So this lineup's really good because you're capturing the upside of RNG by putting their ADC at the captain spot, but you're grabbing the upset potential of OMG if they are also in the top stack. A great lineup. This one's a little too risky for my liking, but again, this is, if you're playing 3-man, this isn't a bad option as well. Okay, so you guys get the general strategy of what I'm trying to do here. I'm looking at the leverage stack. My best leverage stack with a lot of percentage ownership is RNG. So I'm basically basing my strategy for these lower guys around that stack. Okay, and then my last one was going to be RNG TES. Okay. Because nobody's going to have that. That's going to be tough. That is going to be tough. Let me see if I can even do that. Again, small GPP. Do not do this for big GPPs because I'm grabbing a lot of ownership here. Captain. Let's go back to RNG. Let's make RNG a secondary stack because I made too many primary stacks with them. Just in case TES hits all the cash here. So TES... Yep, definitely can't do that. Nope. Oh, here's one. Yeah, but see, that's a support. First off, can I even do it with a TES? RNG? Probably not. I don't even know why he's in the player pool. Let's see if I can find a TES stack in here. Yep, I can. So this one I might settle for just because, again, it gives me the upside here with the top and the captain spot and then the TES guys. If RNG is one of the two top stacks, I'm cashing out if I'm playing those three lineups that I just talked about, the OMG, RNG, the RNG TES, and the RNG and ES stack. Okay. If ES and TES are in the top stack, the support's going to be up there. The chalk's going to hit, and you're going to just basically call it a day and look away from the small GPPs, okay? Because that's just how it is. If you're a GPP player, again, you're fading the chalk, and you're fading the chalk smartly. That's how you attack these slates. All right? All right, so now let's move on to the big GPPs. If you guys have questions, feel free to ask them into the chat. Yeah, so I mean that's a lot of the DFS community's problem is that we're so attracted to this big payout for these bigger contests, but you got to understand that the rake in these contests are just so much bigger than these smaller GPPs. Like there was 9% rake in the small GPP I played last night. All right, so like I said, we're going to move on to the big GPPs now. So looking back here, we are going to start with RNG. Like I said, that's my favorite leverage spot, and we're going to be combining it with every team. So let's go RNG, let's go OMG. And again, these are big GPPs, so you're trying not to grab the craziest amount of ownership. You're trying to differentiate yourself. So let's make OMG a primary stack. What I would do here, players per team. Well, let's make RNG a primary stack first, and OMG make them a 3. build 10 lineups. All right, and then I would pull from one of these lineups. If you guys don't know, this is just a little mini tutorial here. If you guys don't know how to do this, find your lineup, right? So let's just say I like this one right here for some reason because it looks cool. I'm exiting out all these lineups, and then what you do is you can then, oh, hold on, one more. I can then export it, and it puts it into this format where I can save it right here. If you guys are looking, I can save this to my desktop and then upload it to DraftKings, and then all my lineups pop up on my app. Okay, so again, all your guys here are gonna go in straight a line here. You copy your favorite lineup, and then you paste it into your main CSV, and then you can upload it to DraftKings. I won't do all that right now just because obviously it would take forever, but that's how you do it. Okay, so once I combine RNG with OMG, I then move on to RNG for RNG and then TES, RNG V5, RNG ES. Okay, and you do that same process. And again, you're grabbing lineups that have a lot of upside. So not supports at captain, not teams at captain. Pretty much every other position has upside as long as they are the top stack. So for instance, if let's hypothetically say RNG and we'll use this combination. Let's say RNG and OMG is the optimal stacks. Okay, let's say OMG upsets E-Star and they are now the top stack. They win 2-1, but all their guys do very well. Okay, more than likely, actually almost like 99% of the time, one of those skilled players, the top, the ADC, the mid, and the jungler, all score more points than the support. Why? Because the support does not have high damage output, so when they go in for kills, usually like in these big team fights, you'll see it, they usually don't get the kill. It's usually stolen by somebody else who has high damage output. It's very, very, very unlikely that the support gets the most kills on the team. I mean, like, statistically, I actually haven't even seen it. Okay, so let's say OMG is in the top stack. You're going to be targeting an ADC, mid, or jungler in the captain position. That's more preferable. Okay, and then the rest is kind of up to luck. I mean, you can look at previous stats for players to really kind of decipher that, but usually it's the ADC that's scoring the most points because their builds are so offensive based and attack based, and they're just so much more aggressive. So again, that's usually the way to go. So again, when you're building these stacks, yes, it's preferable to put ADC in the captain spot. But again, I mean, the jungler could easily go off. I mean, we saw, like, for instance, today, the ADC from G2 was, what's his name? Caps. Caps went absolutely bananas because it was a 5-game series. And over those 4 games that they played, he had the most points just because over that 4-game span, usually they get the most points. You'll never, ever, ever see a support scoring the most points on the team. All right? RNG or ES better for cash? ES is because, again, the ownership is going to be more on them, and ES allows you to put more into your builds or more skilled players. Thoughts on this cash lineup, Matt? Yuanji, I don't know what his name is. 369 WEI, one of my favorite players. Knight, Wink, Shy C, E-Star. I think that is an optimal lineup. I'm pretty sure the E-Star lineup is the optimal lineup. Yep. For cash, we are liking support or top. For captain, you can do either. Again, grab the ownership that makes sense. Will this video be available for us after you're done so you can go back and watch what I missed? Absolutely. I'm going to leave it up for about a day. Says Jackie Love starting, take kills away from Knight and lower his upside. Good question. We don't have that much data on him. He's supposedly better than the previous ADC that he was playing for. I think it's Fodic. Yeah. Fodic, yeah. So I think he's better than him. I don't think it limits his upside. I think just as a team, they're all going to score a massive amount of points. I think he is better, though. So I know Knight was on a roll without him. All right. So, I mean, I can move on to cash. Let's go ahead and talk about cash real quick. My Patreon tool. Let's go ahead and open it up. And I'll pull up my GPP cheat sheet. So, I said my favorite cash stacks are TES and ES. And I'll show you why. TES has the most ownership. ES has the second most, and that is why. Okay, it's not rocket science. You gotta look at ownership, and you gotta take the most heavily owned guys because there is still a learning curve for a huge population of DFS players, and you have to take advantage of that. So again, like, you have to take advantage of the 44% of people that aren't going to play ES and TES into their stacks, okay? Because there's still a huge probability that if ES and TES are in the top stacks, then you're going to cash easily, okay? If one of them's not, you're still capturing the ownership. And some of these other new players are still playing people like LNG, V5, OMG, and they're just going to get screwed. That's just how it happens, okay? So to build a cash lineup is so much easier. You can put a support at the captain spot. I don't recommend a team. You can put a top person at the top position or at the captain position. You can even put as a skilled player position. You can put an ADC up there if you can, if it allows you to. But again, make sure you get TES and ES in there because they are the heaviest owned. That's just how it works. It's all based on ownership for cash. Okay? All right. So when making GPP lineups for the bigger contests, how do you know what 4 positions you're going to play as your top stack? Well, I'll answer that in a second. Sorry. It depends. First of all, it depends on what teams you're stacking. So again, if you're playing big GPPs, you obviously want to get crazy. So let's just hypothetically say my crazy lineup for the night is going to be OMG and LNG. And your 4-man stack is going to be OMG. You're more than likely going to be playing the ADC from there. You're going to be playing the mid. You're going to be playing the top. And you're going to be playing the jungler. Because those guys usually, on average, score the most points for a team. You're basically banking on OMG not only getting the upset, but all their players having tremendous upside. And then coming back with an LNG upset. And second in the top stack. So also doing the exact same thing as OMG, just not as much. So you want to capitalize on the upside of each one of these players. Now, I'm not saying that you have to put those 4 players in there, but you want to grab the bulk. And on average, those players score the most. So yes, you'll see a 4-3 stack with the one that you're banking on in the top 4. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. In the bottom 3 from the other team. That usually is an optimal stack. However, you have to consider that a lot of people are 4-3 stacking now. So you might want to get it different in a little bit of places. So for OMG, again, make sure you grab the ADC, the jungler, the mid. Maybe differentiate yourself in the top position. Maybe grab the top from ES or from LNG. So again, it really depends, and that's why I say build 150 lineups and kind of mess with it. Just look at the different lineups, see which ones you like. And yes, I know it's kind of a broad answer, but again, there's not what people don't understand is that there's not a set formula to doing this. There's not an easy way to kind of put your exposures all the same for each slate. It's all different. It's different every single slate, and you have to look at different leverage spots. That's why so many people get frustrated, is because they're like, I'm doing what you told me to do in these previous videos, and it's not working. I'm doing 4-3, and then I always ask what contests they're doing, and they always tell me they're doing the big ones because that's usually the most popular ones, but then they have support a captain, and they have a 4-3 stack, and a lot of these slates are so different. Like tonight is so different because there's a huge heavy owned team here at minus 2,500. Yes, they should 2-0 sweep, but in the off chance that they don't, we're looking at another heavy owned team with RNG and ES. So again, if there's no upsets, that means 2 of these 3 are going to be in the optimal lineup. With like a 5-man slate and there's really close games, the strategy is almost completely different. And you have to observe the percentage ownership with the percentage top stack, and that's why that's so crucial to look at these Patreon sheets and kind of understand where I'm coming from. Tonight, I like RNG, and I just want to keep reiterating this. RNG, I like them so much because there's a leverage spot against 25%, and they're heavily owned. Okay, for small GPPs. So again, I recommend, like, if RNG's in one of the 2 top stacks, you're sitting really pretty, first of all, because you have leverage against the field. You have leverage against the ES guys or whatever top stack doesn't finish in the top stack. And then you're also grabbing these low-owned stacks that could possibly propel you to the top. And that's how you get it done, Okay, and these smaller GPPs, people are not going to be taking a risk. Okay, you have to keep in mind that you're playing with the Osmos of the world, you're playing with the Brick 75s of the world, you're playing with the Chipotle Addicts of the world. I don't think he's actually entering these. You have to play with the McLovins of the world. So you'll know this. You'll just, if you sit back and you watch these guys in these small GPPs, they're entering very conservative lineups. Almost all their lineups, and quite frankly, it's not that smart. They will be entering TES, ES lineups. They'll be entering the RNGs, ES. They'll be doing similar things to us, okay? And that's why they're so good, is because they're not taking crazy risks with these small GPPs. But in these big GPPs, that's why Osmo's shooting all the way to the top. That's why you always see him in the optimal build, at least tying with 500 people, because he's taking risks. He's going to be playing V5 tonight. He's going to be in his 150 lineups. He's going to be playing V5 with OMG. He's going to be playing OMG with TES. He's going to be playing RNG with LNG. He's going to be playing every single combination. But he's also taking a stand with some of his lineups. Okay? He's taking a stand. Now, if Osmo is looking at the same data I'm looking at, you might see more RNG lineups in there, okay? Or ES. ES is another great team to take a stance on because, again, they match the field with the percentage top stack. But I guarantee you in these big contests, you won't see as much TES in there from him or from me, okay? So that's the strategy for tonight. But that's how you approach every single slate. You have to observe the projected ownership against the percentage top stack and kind of stake your claim, okay, for each contest. So tonight, you'll see me with a lot of RNG. And guys, my GPP cheat sheet, I lay it out for you just I give you guys, oh wow, this is not updated. Oh, this is a different tab. I almost had a heart attack. This is, okay. Like, yes, this is my favorite GPP stack, but that also doesn't mean play 100% of RNG, okay? And that doesn't mean OMG, like if I'm not projecting OMG to win if they're a low-owned stack that I list, okay? And playing LNG, another low-owned stack, doesn't mean that I love LNG to get the upset. So many people, send me messages and they're like, I thought you liked LNG tonight. How'd they lose? Well, it's because the percentage ownership is lower than the percentage top stack. If LNG does win, guess what? You're sitting in a great spot because they're only 6% owned. There's an 8% chance for percentage top stack, so they're going to be under-owned, and there's a huge leverage spot there. That's the reason why I build these sheets for you guys, is because, again, like it's not a prediction thing. It's not. I'm not predicting winners here. If I was predicting winners, guess what? My predicted winners tonight are going to be ES, RNG, and TES. Okay, it's all about leverage. It's all about leverage in DFS across the board for every sport. It's like the stock market. You gotta wait for percentage ownership to lower, and then you buy, and then you go all in on that. Okay. You got to go all in on RNG tonight, V5, LNG, OMG. They're all lower owned. Okay. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. It's a process. It's not the same thing every single night. It's not about putting 4-3 stacks, 150 lineups, and just cranking it out. That's not what it's all about. All right, guys. You have any questions? Go ahead and feel free to enter them into the chat. I think I'm covering everything that I wanted to cover. I'm trying to remember if I left out anything. Got a bunch of notifications. I need to check those after the stream. Yeah, I'll go ahead and just open up the floor for you guys. If you guys want to go ahead and ask any questions. I'll tell you one thing. V5's lineup's absolutely insane. All these guys change every single slate. Like this Xiao Han guy, I don't even know where he came from. Has he been on the team? I don't know. I probably won't be playing much V5 tonight. I'll just let you guys know that. I know they're slightly under-owned here as far as ownership and percentage top stack, but they're so low unless you're playing a huge tourney, it doesn't make much sense. One thing I want to say as well. If you're not playing small GPPs and the combination of middle GPPs and the combination of big GPPs, you're not doing it right. You need to be playing all these kind of lineups, all these kind of contests every single night. Because when the chalk doesn't hit and you don't cash into the small GPPs, you're making a lot of money in these big GPPs. Oh my gosh, every time I take a drink of water. Okay, so you want to be kind of differentiating yourself in every single contest so that you can maximize your chances to win. Okay, it's not about, I'm not going to be doing just single entry GPPs tonight and using your strategy. You guys need to be doing the big contests. And yes, it's a grind. I'm not saying you need to do 150 max. I'm just saying your lineups have to look completely different for the different contests that you're entering. Okay? Because again, some people will send me they'll send me a contest that they lost, and it'll be like a 3 max, and it'll be like, I didn't cash because of your cheat sheet. It didn't work for me tonight. Well, did you try to enter the big ones? Because the big ones would have gotten you a lot further if you would have done it correctly. I'm not bashing anybody. No, I'm not bashing anybody by any means. But again, like, you guys need to understand that when you're playing GPPs, you need to play every single contest. Okay? Every single contest that makes sense. Small GPPs, big GPPs, middle range GPPs, even cash if you want. I'm not a cash player, but again, like, if you want to like have that as your safety net for when the chalk hits, you can do that for cash for sure. All right, played 3 small GPPs today, and I cashed in all 3 finally. Awesome, Jason. Awesome to hear that. And the 20 max, how many V5 lamps would you make? That's a great question. Nobody leave before I answer this question. That's a great question. I love that question, because when you're entering these different combinations, you have to look at projected percentage ownership. Okay, except for the chalk guys. Okay, the chalk guys were obviously either fading completely or we are not matching the field on, because that's where the inflation is. Okay, so let's say for instance you are entering a V5 lineup, whether it's a secondary or primary stack. Keep in mind 2% projected of the field is going to have V5. So what do you have to do? You have to make sure you get more than 2%. So of your 20 lineups, 5% is one lineup, right? So if you enter one lineup of V5, at least for a stack, you have already beaten the field if that hits, because you are leveraging yourself against the field. You have 3% higher of the field, so you have a 3% chance to cash just by having a V5, and if they hit, V5 is going to be the optimal lineup. You're obviously beating the field that way. Okay, so let's use that same kind of logic, and let's move on to another team. So ES, if you're entering ES, you want to make sure you have at least 30% or at least 5% leverage, right? So you want at least 6 lineups within ES primary or secondary stack. Did I answer your question? You always want leverage. You can have more. You can have more than 30%, or you can have 5% more than 25. You can have 10% more. You can have half the field, or you can have half of your lines for ES, as long as you have more than 50% or 25% of the field, specifically tonight for ES. Okay. Again, you want leverage against the field. If you're playing big GPPs, you want to avoid these chalky teams. Okay, because they're obviously the overinflation there. You're doing yourself a disfavor if you are playing TES lineups, because again, you're competing with 31% of the field, but they really don't have that. They don't have 31% of a top stack percentage. So the odds are already against you, and you're competing with more people, and you're competing with Rake. So TES could honestly in the end screw you. Okay, I'm not saying they won't be in the optimal build. I'm just saying it's not really a smart play to play them in big GPPs. All right, so seems like all the big teams that are favored always lose. Do you feel like the teams lose are clenched in playoffs already? I mean, that could play a part. I mean, for any sport, obviously they let off the gas near the end of the playoffs. Like, a lot of these teams have already clinched a spot in the playoffs. I think RNG is one of them. TS, I think, might even be. IG, I don't really know. I don't know, guys. I'm not the odds makers, so I just look at the Vegas odds. Again, I don't try to predict winners. I don't go into all that background stuff. But I mean, it could play a factor into it. I mean, just like any other sport, like for football, for basketball, you guys know. I mean, TES is playing some of their bench players, right? So TES is playing, I think it's TES. Their support's not a starter, so they're playing. Yes, he's still a lot better than the V5 guys, but I mean, like, situations like that, TES could easily get upset. Not easily. They could potentially get upset tonight. I mean, there's always that possibility. Now, V5 only has a near 4% chance of being the optimal stack, but it could happen. I mean, it's just like any other sport, right? Any TES for ownership? Oh, I answered that. Yep. Why do I feel like I'm learning so much more in this video? You were hitting it on the park, man. Thank you, man. I just want everybody to understand, and this is my approach for every slate. I look at the leverage spots, I see what contests I'm entering, and I haven't entered a single lineup into any one of these contests yet. So I'm going to go after this. I'm going to start making my lineups and then entering all of my contests into it, and it is a grind. Sometimes it can take up to an hour to make all your lineups. Like, you guys have to realize it's not just a simple strategy to enter 150 lineups every single night and just put them in the GPPs. You will lose that way. You just will. You have to look at the ownerships. It's become, just because the field's gotten so much sharper, it requires a lot of strategy, and so many people don't realize that. It's not easy. It's not easy. They think that Alcimo does that. They think he just max enters all these contests, which he does to a certain point, but he has so much strategy behind it. There's so much more that goes behind it. And I like this a lot because my favorite sport to play for DFS my favorite sport to play for DFS is baseball, and this is so much similar to baseball as far as stacking. Baseball is the exact same thing as this. You stack a 5-man, not to get you guys excited, a 5-man stack, come back with a 3 more ownership, and then you enter it into a big GPP or a small GPP. It's the exact same stuff because you're looking for that top stack in baseball the same way you're looking for a top stack in League of Legends. I appreciate your time explaining. I appreciate you guys showing up. I really do. And again, if you're not a Patreon member, this is the stuff that I'm posting, and I hope it's very helpful for you guys. And now that you know how to utilize it and use it, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. Again, I have a lot of people reaching out, so do not take it offensively. I don't get to it right away. You guys know that I usually try to get to them pretty quickly, within the hour, hopefully. I have a lot of YouTube questions to answer too. A lot of trolls in the comment section too I have to deal with, so all that combined. But yeah, and I appreciate you guys taking the time. Again, it is 10 o'clock tonight. The slate starts at 3, which is weird. It usually starts at 2, so I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't know why they moved it back. I saw the 3 a.m. start time, but I mean, that gives us some more sleeping hours at least if you're going to bed soon. Yeah, man, I made sure to get all my Easter festivities out of the way and then do this. I was not going to do this with family. Oh, by the way, I apologize for not getting out of the video today. Obviously, with it being Easter, I will get back on track with that. In the morning, I'll be posting a Monday video for the Tuesday slate. I hate these times. So look out for that video. If you guys use that video for learning points for the slate, I do apologize. I hope this is a nice substitute for it. Hopefully this covered even more than a normal video would for you guys. What was the RNG ES stack? I don't know, man. I have to go back and look. I know I had Lang X as the captain. I'd have to go back and look. I'll try to find it. I think Lang X. Yeah, I think that's it right there. I mean, that's a good stack. Now, it's not like the 4-3 as you usually want a 4 stack in the captain spot coming back with a 3 stack with the team. Obviously, this only has 3 RNG and the RNG guys in the captain spot. So, but if they're both in the optimal build, this could easily be the optimal build. Well, it's funny because I got this one comment. I woke up to it actually. I think this was one of the comments No, it was last night. Yesterday? I don't know. It was one or 2 days ago. I woke up to a comment that said, "Man, I'm done watching your channel. Every single time I play your advice, I lose." And it was a night where I recommended ES and somebody else as like my favorite cash plays, and they both were in the optimal lineup. And I just was sitting there reading the comment. And I was like, this guy can't be serious. I was like, I know this guy isn't coming at me from Patreon because he said that he just watches my videos. So I was sitting there thinking, I was like, there's no way that this guy's being serious. Unless he literally played the exact opposite of what was recommended in the video. It was like mind-blowing to me, so I just didn't even respond. I was like, okay, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I misled you. Thanks, man. Really appreciate that shout out, Ryan. Thank you so much. Yeah, any more questions, guys? I'll go ahead and get off here pretty soon. Like I said, I'm going to stay up until I have all the questions answered. My voice is starting to crack a little bit, so I know I'm getting a little tired. Yes, no, I like that build. Yeah, I know you're usually the best at making those cash lineups. But yeah, TES and ES are going to be chalky. Same thing with RNG. So if I do recommend anything, Sano, maybe get another RNG guy in there. I don't think we have any RNG guys in there, but maybe get another guy in there just to kind of expand your horizon a little bit more, just in case RNG does appear in the optimal build, which I hope that they are for GPP purposes. For cash, why would ES be in the optimal stack at minus 200 when TES is minus 2000? As far as optimal, do you mean the results, or do you mean like why would I suggest them? Can you ask that question again, man? Yeah, I appreciate that, Kenny. I really do. I put a lot of work into it. I kid you not. I put this is a full-time job now. So apart from the CS:GO, which I'm still trying to critique every single day, I probably put 2 to 3 hours a day on my Patreon cheat sheet. As far as work goes into that, every single day for just League of Legends. CS takes about an hour. And then Rocket League, I mean, that takes about an hour as well when there is Rocket League slates. So when I'm covering multiple slates during the day, I mean, it takes 4 to 5 hours, man. And then not only that, on top of the video, I have to do the editing and I have to do the uploading and all that. So add another hour and a half to that. 6 hours and a half, 6.5 hours, guys. I'm probably sitting here and I'm looking at stats all day, and I love it. So it's a passion of mine. I mean, I try to do all the dirty work for you guys, and then that's why you guys sign for the Patreon, so you don't have to do the dirty work, right? So, again, dude, I just really appreciate your support. Yeah, happy Easter, man. Get on the Betty train, so no. Yeah, Betty's not a bad play tonight. I might play the man just based on his name. Betty's a crazy name. What's the craziest name out of all these guys? No, Wiggly from the LCS. He's out of the... I understand why now, because his name's Wiggly. He's out of the playoffs now, but for the LCS... Wiggly is definitely like the weirdest name I've seen for League of Legends. Like who in the right mind is just like, I'm making a gamer tag and I'm calling myself Wiggly. That's my name right there. Wiggly. What? All right. I think I'm not getting any more questions. So I will have this video uploaded for the next day probably. And then I will let you guys rewatch it if you guys want to come back to it. If you want to ask any questions in the YouTube section, I'll be sure to answer those. I get those notifications. I get notifications for my YouTube, my Patreon chat, and my Discord right to my phone. So it pops up literally on my front screen. So again, if there's not a pileup, I try to get to it immediately. So just be sure to ask any questions to one of those 3 sources. Oh, and Twitter DMs. That's another one I haven't even been over. Twitter DMs. I can have all those notifications enabled. Yeah, Nuke Duck. I don't know. Wiggly, I think, tops Nuke Duck. I think Nuke Duck's at least original. Like, at least you put some thought into that. Will esports be on for a while, like during the summer? Esports actually has its own season, just like any other season. It will end in a month or two because they have Worlds, because all these leagues come together and they go to a Worlds. FPX won it last year. Once that's over, they take a break. They start beginning of January. It runs from January 3-4 months, so like any other sport. Thank you, Hendrix. Thank you for the shout out, man. Appreciate it. Is it Puna Ray? Appreciate that, man. All right, guys, I will go ahead and hang this up. Again, I will pop into the Patreon chat if you guys have any last-minute questions. And again, the video will be uploaded for rewatch. And again, guys, I will be getting my merchandise, my new merchandise here soon. We have a new design. So if you guys want to check that out, you'll see it. It's like one of the first ones that pop up. It has one of our favorite slogans across the front, and then a miniature logo. It's really cool. I'm going to be wearing it next week. Hopefully I get it next week, so I'm excited for it. And with all that being said, guys, let's cash. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'll see you tomorrow.
What's holding you down? I ain't like others. Don't let them hold your ground. I am in the summer sky. I am hearing all the lies. Don't turn your back on me. I'm here for you. I'll light your fire as the cold comes through. You'll be my passenger and I'll break through. I'll break through. Venus.